Hello, BookTube. It's a bright, beautiful, sunny day today. The 4 predicted days of rain became, in fact, 4 hours of rain. Just enough to refresh the local streams and get all the lawns bursting green, but not enough to ruin a whole week for walking out and about. And I did go out and about today. I had errands first thing in the morning, and they brought me to the Brattle Bookshop here in Boston, of course, which is a used bookstore, one of the greatest used bookstores that I know of, certainly my favorite. And I got a pile of books that I want to show you that I don't need, but I thought I would get them anyway. The first one is Shakespeare. Talk about not needing. I have multiple collected Shakespeares. I have multiple individual Shakespeares. Of course, Shakespeare is all available online for free. But the other day at a little free library, I found a dorky little paperback of Julius Caesar, which is my favorite William Shakespeare play. And today at the Brattle, I found something very similar, a dorky little paperback of Coriolanus with Charlton Heston for some inexplicable reason on the cover there. And this is has very little in the way of falderall, just a basic paperback of Coriolanus, but it was $1, so I grabbed it. Same thing with this one. This is by an author I know well. This is Theodore Sturgeon's book, The Kennedy Legacy. And this is a collection from an old Mentor paperback of his profiles, reflections, portraits of Edward Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy and Jack Kennedy, and a whole bunch of other stuff added in here. I've had this book in hardcover once upon a time, a million years ago. I don't think I was aware that this ever did come out in a paperback. The paperback came out, 60 years ago, but even so, I don't think I was ever aware of this. But I haven't read it in forever, so I grabbed it. Then we have a Penguin Classic. I try never to turn down a Penguin Classic if it's in really good condition. This is in really good condition. This is a mass market paperback of George Eliot's novel Daniel Deronda, which is quite interesting. A quite interesting novel. I haven't reread this. I don't know when the last time I reread this was. It was probably 15 years ago, something like that, which is too long. I should be rereading Eliot every other year, all of it. This is... It's not a friendly novel. It's not friendly in the way of, for instance, Middlemarch, but boy, oh boy, does it pay off. Especially, it's a weird novel, as a lot of Eliot's novels tend to be. It's a weird novel in that it has a North Pole and a South Pole, two characters who are North Pole and South Pole, and one of them is much more interesting than the other, and that one is not Daniel Deronda. And now I've got a tough little Penguin mass market paperback to read, and I think I have a Penguin trade paperback of Daniel Deronda. I don't think I have any other edition of it, just Penguin. Then I found a UK trade paperback. I'm always up for those, especially if it's something that I really, really want. This is from Faber and Favorites, The Collected Stories of John McGarn. How wonderful. How absolutely wonderful. Did not know this edition even existed. I'm sure there are stories in here that I'm not familiar with. One of the great Irish short story writers of them all. So these were all dirt cheap. So I couldn't turn them down. Then I found this. This is Stephen Booth. This is his edition of Shakespeare's sonnets, so a little more Shakespeare, but this is quite different. I said that the Coriolanus was no falderall. This is almost all falderall. This is the sonnets, yes, but it is an incredible amount of critical analysis, of the best critical analysis of Shakespeare's sonnets that have ever been done. I've gotten and sent away so many copies of this book to people, just so many. I'm going to try and hold on to this one because really, if you make a Shakespeare library, apart from versions of his plays or one-volume editions of collected Shakespeare, if you make a library of books about Shakespeare, analysis of Shakespeare, that sort of thing, this is going to be on a very short list of things that you absolutely have to have. This is the final word on the sonnets, so... And every time I have it, I give it away, so I'm glad to have it again. Then we have a pirate book. It's a whole bunch of people on BookTube reading pirate literature. This is an author I'm pretty sure I have on ebook. I'm pretty sure I have ebooks of a lot of these. This is The Low Road by an author writing under the name of James Lear. There is the back cover. for you. Suspicious lack of critical blurbs. This is a story about a young man. It's a historical novel about a young man who enters the seamy world of piracy and graduates from being a cabin boy to a cabin man. Is always ready to swab a deck. all in the interest of getting back home to his one true love. I really like this author, really writing under any name. I really like this author. I'm pretty sure that I have all of the James Lear books as ebooks, but I read one of them, a murder mystery. This is not a murder mystery. This is a historical novel. They all look the same, so it would be a little bit confusing. But even as an ebook, I don't think I read this one. I'm not even sure that I have this one as an ebook. I'm going to have to check on all of these things. Let's see here. What have we? Oh, yes. Big, fat work of history. 800-page work of history. This is by Hugh Thomas, and this is his huge book, Conquest, about Montezuma and the fall of that empire to a relatively small English force led by Cortez, and or rather a European force led by Cortez. It's a big, fat thing that came out in the 1990s, I think. I know that this came out when I was well and truly out of the book reviewing game, because I remember it. I think I read this. I think I got this out of a library at the time when it came out in the 90s. I remember looking at it and thinking, boy, I could have had a field day reviewing that if I were still reviewing books. So I'm assuming that since I had that thought, this must have come out in the early 1990s. And naturally, the first thing that comes to mind is William Hickling Prescott, not Hugh Thomas. William Hickling Prescott wrote a great book on this subject. And when I read this, I was unfairly thinking of the two together, which doesn't work. That does no credit to the scholarship of Hugh Thomas, that he can't match the prose of the great New England historians of the last century. No one can do that. No one can. So it'd be just as unfair if someone were to write about, the role of the French in the New World. It would be just as unfair to compare that book to Francis Parkman. The research might be more up to date, might take in more archaeology or whatnot, but the prose won't be anywhere near as good. Just plain and simple, won't be. But I think I will give this a fairer shot this time around. And then we have a novel. This was a mega bestseller. I found it at the Brattle in the original hardcover with a library dust jacket, a library plastic dust jacket. I have no idea what it's doing there, but I haven't read this in forever, even though I think I have an ebook of it. This is Alan Drury. This is his book, Preserve and Protect. His great political novel from, 60 years ago. A great political novel about Washington, D.C. that really, this Preserve and Protect and Advise and Consent and all of that sort of stuff, all of those political novels of his really changed his life. He was a roustabout freelance columnist until he hit it big as a novelist, including two novels, a story about the ancient Egyptian pharaoh Akhenaten, that are really good. Those two books are really good. But I haven't read this thing. Oh my God, in forever. I haven't read it, well, probably since it looked like this, probably since it first came out. So I grabbed it, always up for political thrillers. Then we have a classic of the biographer's art. I've had this many, many times. I always managed to get rid of it, always managed to give it away to somebody. I'm going to try and hold on to it this time. It's in perfect condition, again, with a library plastic covering over it. This is Ian Hamilton's biography of Robert Lowell. Naturally on my mind, because the Steve Tiberius Donoghue Book Club in May is going to be Elizabeth Bishop. But this is a really well done book. Ian Hamilton might be more familiar to more recent readers. This is a fairly old book. More recently, he did a thing called Keepers of the Flame, which is about literary estates, and it drips with acid. It's really good, beautifully researched, beautifully written, but it's also an angry book. Very much. I think, under the surface, a very angry book. Predictably so, since this author had a rather tangled experience with one particular, the most famous literary estate of them all. So I didn't find Keepers of the Flame. I don't have a copy, and I didn't find it today. When I saw this, I thought maybe that was out and about on the Brattle Bookshop. In case any of you are unfamiliar, is a great used bookstore, but it also has a sale lot outside that's all $1, $3, and $5 books, just a vast number of them. All of these are from the sale lot. which is why this whole kit and caboodle barely cost me any money. And I looked around a little. You can never tell. Nothing's in any kind of organization out in the lot. And I didn't see Keepers of the Flame or any other Ian Hamilton. Could have been there. The thing about the Brattle sale lot is that it's thousands of books. So you could easily miss something, even if you think you're conscientiously looking. This next one, also a brand new hardcover, also with a preservative plastic covering on it, of a book that, again, I have had many, many, many times. I give it away all the time because it's incredible. It's surreal and weird and wonderful. It's Deus Lo Volt by S Connell, and this is just a beautiful edition. That I'm not going to need to worry about this at all when I read it. Don't know if I have this as an ebook, but this is Connell's book on the Crusades, but it is not like any Crusade book you have ever read. It is a weird, surreal kind of nonfiction. It's a weird, surreal, conscientious kind of fiction. It's a weird blend of the two that is itself meant to be Connell's commentary on all the Crusade commentaries that came out of the Age of Crusades, that were a heady mixture of facts on the ground and mythologizing. He decided rather than do just a straightforward history of the Crusades, he would do something like this. It is a weird, wonderful reading experience. And I've reread it often. I'm very familiar with the work, but every time I have a copy, I give it away. And so this is perfect. It's in perfect condition with a covering on it. So I'm hoping that I'll hold on to it this time. And then we can wrap up with this. There are a bunch of other books here, but they're all gifts for one person or another. So we'll wrap up with this. This is by Paul Reidinger, and this is Good Boys. Again, in a hardcover with a library dust jacket. These must all come from the same person, a person with very eclectic taste. This is a gay novel. What have we got here? This book spans a decade in the lives of all three college pals, good boys all, whose paths cross and recross as they approach 30-something, still trying to sort out the little disturbances of man, the tangled webs of friendship, the wheat and chaff of profession, the gilded cage of sex, the slippery meaning of good in a world that isn't. As they move along the boundaries of their relationship and of life itself, they find that growing up is not at least about the power of secrets, the secrets of permanence, and the indescribable shade of love and desire together. Which makes this sound really, really pretentious, but it's not. It's a really, really terrific gay novel. So there you go. There are other books here, but they've got to stay off camera so that they retain their ability to surprise and please. But that still gives us a Steve Pyramid, right? We've got Ian Hamilton's famous biography of Robert Lowell. We've got Good Boys, which is going to be a pleasure to reread. We've got Preserve and Protect by Alan Drury, the author of Advise and Consent. We've got Deus Lo Volt by S Connell about the Crusades. We've got a big Montezuma Cortez book, Conquest, that I haven't read in a while. We've got The Low Road by James Lear. I will look for my ebooks, see if maybe I'd want to go on a Lear reading jag. We have Booth's commentaries on Shakespeare's sonnets that are really incredible. We have John McGarn's collected short stories. What a find. What an amazing thing. So always nice to see how many of these are keepers. We have a Penguin classic of Daniel Deronda that'll last. It's been read, obviously, but Penguins are durable. They can take a lot. We have The Kennedy Legacy by Ted Sorensen. And finally, we have just a random paperback of Coriolanus. It's fine by me. I'll take it. So there you go. That was a nice quick trip to the Brattle on a wonderful, beautiful day. A day really meant, if you can swing it, a day really meant for walking around with the baby bean, or your particular baby bean. It's really meant to be enjoyed outside. For one of the first days that is still stubbornly a little bit chilly. I think. You won't think so, but I think so. But I think that's ending. So this was delightful. I will go through these books, inventory them, jot them all down, and then decide which 2 or 3 of them are going on the TBR immediately. Which one on this pile will be the representative of this pile that goes on the TBR tonight? I'm thinking it's Preserve and Protect, but it could be The Low Road. We shall see. It'll be fiction either way. But anyway, that's my trip to the Brattle for this week. I doubt I'll be back until next week, but if I am, you'll be the first to know. So I'll wrap this up for now. I'll see you then. Thank you, BookTube.